Hello guys, well all the talk today is about Alexandre Lacazette, the Lyon striker. Reports from France emanating that we may have submitted a significant bid, about 50 odd million pounds, 44 million pounds quoted with some add-ons. It seems there's a lot of smoke here and it seems as if Arsenal may be moving for Lacazette. Is that anything to do with Kylian Mbappé? I find it very hard to conceive of a situation where Arsenal would take both. So is it possible that we've been tipped off, maybe that those talks with Zinedine Zidane have turned Mbappe's head, he wishes to go to Real Madrid or maybe even Paris Saint-Germain, and we are now pushing ahead with plan B, that is Alexandre Lacazette. He's definitely the plan B. He was last summer and he seems to have been this summer too. I can't conceive of a scenario where Arsenal would have ever planned to bring in Mbappé and Lacazette. So if we are moving for him, it suggests that we've had to go to our second choice. We must hope that that's not a similar scenario to last summer, where Arsenal's first choice was very much Jamie Vardy. Lacazette was in the mix too then. In the end, Arsenal plumped for Lucas Perez, but all season long it felt as if he was a player he didn't necessarily rely on or count on. Whatever Lucas did on the field didn't seem to change Arsenal's mind. Now, the difference, of course, is that Lucas was a relatively cheap signing, had a buyout clause of £17 million, whereas Lacazette, we're going to break the club transfer record to bring him in, if indeed he does come. That, suggests that he will very much be part of the first team plans. And he has to be a better fit than Lucas ever was. I'm encouraged, to be honest. If Simeone wanted to take him to Atletico, I take that as a positive sign. That means we know that this is a guy who works hard, who's disciplined, who's committed. Simeone would not be interested in him otherwise. And I find that promising. His goal record is outstanding. I don't think he's a player necessarily of the calibre of Mbappé, potentially. I don't think he's a transformative player, but I think he's a very functional, very efficient player. And I mean that functional in the best possible way. I mean, he does his job well. He's a reliable goal scorer. And it's a huge if, we can somehow keep Alexis Sanchez and Mesut Ozil, that's a very impressive front three. And for a club who aren't in the Champions League to be able to secure Lacazette is a decent thing. I mean, it's come to that now. We are not the absolute elite anymore, and we have to be realistic. Thinking about the type of player he is, I mean, he's probably the sort of striker Theo Walcott wishes he had been. He's very quick, doesn't need a lot of backlift, good finisher, good movement, lays on assists too, very mobile. He ticks a lot of boxes. And yes, he's been in Ligue 1 a long time, but he's been playing for Lyon, who are a big club, and he's been scoring a lot of goals and been a very influential figure there. I think his lack of success at international level is nothing really to read into. He's a very particular type of striker. And yes, Giroud might be first choice for France, but we know that Giroud doesn't really fit the type of football we want to play anymore. Lacazette is more in that mould. As for Mbappé, well, look, I think if anything, us being linked with him maybe has distorted our impressions of what we might do in the market. I mean, if we'd never been mentioned in the conversation for Mbappé, if it had just been Real and PSG and City and others, and now we were signing Lacazette, we'd be more excited about it, I think. It's only because we're viewing it relatively, because we've been dangled this potential carrot of Mbappé. But realistically, was that ever on the cards? Only the wildest optimists ever felt that it was. It seemed improbable, and now it seems as if we've been tipped off. It's not going to happen. And we're moving for the guy Arsene Wenger considers to be the next best thing. And I've talked about Aubameyang on here, I've talked about other strikers. But if Arsene really feels that Lacazette is the next best thing, then that's fair enough. If he's prepared to spend 130 million on Mbappé, I think he would spend 60 or 70 on Aubameyang if he thought he was the right guy. He clearly believes that Lacazette is potentially that guy. He's not good enough to replace an Alexis. If Alexis goes and Lacazette comes in and that's our squad, we have gone backwards. But if we can keep Alexis, or if he goes, replace him with a player of similar calibre, then Lacazette, I think, is an improvement on our current striking options. You know that I would keep Olivier Giroud. Personally, I think Arsenal will probably let him go. He must recognise that having Lacazette and Giroud in the same squad, competing for places in the front side, might not work out. And all the noise seems to suggest that Giroud's going to be off. The last chance to cash in on him probably, and it looks like Arsenal's going to do that. So yeah, I wanted Mbappé like everybody else. If it's Lacazette, I guess, I'll be a little bit underwhelmed. But if you told me at the start of the transfer window we were going to break our transfer record to bring in a centre forward who'd scored 100 goals in 3 years, I would have said, let's do it. And I think he will be a good addition. And I think, they're going out spending money on a striker. I don't know what more we can necessarily ask. It's a wait and see if it happens. It's a wait and see how he does, how he adapts. But Atletico wanted to take him, and that is a high compliment. And look, we've signed backup plans before, and they've worked out brilliantly. Per Mertesacker was never first choice at centre half. Mikel Arteta not necessarily first choice in central midfield. There are probably others who I can't think of now who have proven to be better signings than we might initially have imagined. Anyway, let me know what you think about Lacazette. We could have more news next couple of days. Maybe I'll try and get someone on who's seen him play more regularly than me to get their opinion too. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.